Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to M4J-Hatfield Racing here on F1 2021. So last time out then, we were racing around Canada, and I did really bad, but I did hint at something better happening this time around, and that is, we're in France. I should have started with that, to be honest. We are in France, and also Happy New Year to everyone watching. This is going up on the 2nd of January, for those of you who are watching after the event, but for those of you watching this on the day, Happy New Year, hope you've had a good holiday and all that good stuff. And we're in P1. I've got some notes here. This is the first race that I've done. Ooh, that was nearly a crash. That was a great overtake, actually. I sent it up Delatraz there. This is the first race weekend where I've been using the manual gearbox, which you saw there. I completely messed up. I think I just went through a polystyrene sign there as well, which wasn't particularly great. But first one with manual gears, first one with the steering wheel and pedals throughout the entire race weekend, and also the first one that I can remember from start to finish because I recorded all this in a single day, which is great. That corner there is an absolute nightmare when you're in your Season 1 My Team car. By race time, I do actually mostly get to grips with that corner. This one here as well kind of sneaks up on you because I don't think this corner should exist, to be honest. That little chicane, I know why it's there, it's to slow the cars down, blah 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 blah, but at the same time, yes, I don't like Paul Ricard's design. I think as a track it's a really good fun track to drive, but the fact that it's pretty much entirely flat, and you can just, like, you see all the different variations of track, and then you got to try and remember which one you have to take as an F1 driver. Bit annoying. You do have these kind of lag corners as well, where you're not really braking, but you're also not really accelerating. Yeah. You're about to see something, though, that I have never, ever done before in this game, which is complete a tyre management lap below the Delta with a purple tyre condition. Look at that. Absolutely nailed it. Waiting for the finish line there. Absolutely nailed it. Very happy with that. Very happy with that. Really good practice lap as well. It wasn't just a fluke or anything. I actually got a pretty decent time there too. So I'm very happy with that. I'm going to say that a lot throughout this weekend. I'm very happy about how this weekend went. You know, the elements and everything tried to just throw me off course, but somehow I managed to get through it all. I'm trying not to give too much away, but I think I've already given some things away last week, so I'm not going to worry too much. That corner there as well, by the way, is an absolute nightmare. Again, it could just be me being rubbish at the game. It could also be me being scared of the car, so I didn't want to lose the back end, which does happen with me more often than you think. But yeah, just putting some laps together, realizing that I'm putting together some decent lap times, and there are still areas where I can improve. So, for example, not going wide on those two corners down at the far end of the track there. This section, I've kind of got nailed down at this point, bearing in mind we're still in P1 here. I wouldn't say I've mastered it. This corner here, this is the lag corner I was talking about, because you brake into it, and then you coast for a bit, and then you brake again. It's all one corner, but it has like 3 separate braking zones depending on how good your car is. And then you've got this one here, the slow left-hander, and then you really gun it again for this right-hander, and then you come up to this left-hander, which is really slow. I'm technically in the pit entry at this point. And then you've got this, which I think is the slowest corner on track. And then assuming you get yourself lined up correctly, you've got the charge down to the finish line. You will see me use that charge down to the finish line in the race a couple of times at least, off the top of my head. So that's P1 then. P1 was a good session for me. It says came in 8th and finished session in 11th on my notes here. Again, thank you, Tom, for leaving those notes. To come 11th, even in a practice session, even if it's the first practice session, it's still something I'm really proud of, to be honest. Because, again, Paul Ricard, it's not the best track for a Season 1 car. But if you can get a decent lap together, and I still feel I could have shaved a second or two off my lap time. So that tells you whereabouts I am now. Yes, the AI has been made slightly easier, but still not easy enough that I'm just going to win every race from here on out. That's not what I was planning on doing. I just wanted to bring it down a little bit more, mainly so I wasn't getting punted off the track and being lapped twice during a race. That's the reason why I did it. If it starts to get too easy, then obviously I'll bump it up again slightly. I think I only reduced it by like 5 or 10, so it's not like I brought it down by a massive amount. Anyway, Q1. So you saw me in practice, you saw how I was putting laps together. Qualifying here, slightly different setup for the car, because I forgot I actually had a setup. RacingGames.gg, by the way, if you want to check out the best F1 2021 car setups, and youtube.com/ I can't remember what our URL is, but basically Racing Games on YouTube as well if you want to see the track guides written by yours truly. Nailed that corner, nailed the previous corner as well, didn't go off track. Got the DRS open here. I keep forgetting to change up to 8th here, because I think when I was racing, especially during qualifying, I had my girlfriend sat behind me, and we were actually just chatting about general life things while I was racing, which is probably another reason actually why I did quite well, because I wasn't focusing entirely on the race. I was actually being distracted by conversation and stuff. But because I had my headset slightly off, I couldn't hear the engine. So the car, you'll see it a lot down that back straight. It is begging to upshift into 8th gear, and I never hear it. And so it's only when I look up and see like the screen flashing, I'm like, oh, maybe I should actually change gear now. This is a good qualifying lap. We got some red in Sector 2 there. It wasn't my best Sector 2. The Sector 1 being green was good. Slightly wide line on the penultimate corner here, but you see I actually get like a slingshot out of the penultimate corner, and that gives me a good line into the final corner. And because of that, I come flying down here. 15th place, 13th place. 13th place I think I was there. But I do in fact get through to Q2. Finish 5th, I keep saying 15th. It looks like a 5 on my screen. It's not, it's a 3. Finished 13th, which again, I'm really happy with. And the best part is, Delatraz came last. So, there is an element, again, AI is slightly easier, but there is an element of I'm getting to grips with the car now. I'm actually getting a fair idea as to how good this car is. You kind of saw it there as well. In the past, I probably would have lost it coming out of that corner. But with the manual gears, I was able to either short shift or just lift and coast. I think in that case, I lifted and coasted rather than short shifted. But coming out of some of these corners, you will see me short shift, especially this one during the race. There's a couple of times where I'm up in night 6th before we reach the left-hander there. I actually got the upshift there into 8th that time as well. Is that a Ferrari I've got behind me, or an Alpha? It's probably an Alpha looking at it. Yeah, another really good lap. I don't actually know what my lap time was there for Q1. I can't see it on the screen because it's slightly blurry, because I think I said this before. When I'm recording the voiceover here, I run on a slightly lower resolution, so I don't get any lag in Premiere. So you'll have to compare my Q1 lap time with my Q2 lap time. But at this point, I feel like I've got the car pretty dialed in. The line there wasn't very good. I always turn into that corner a little too early, which can cost me. But then my exit there was pretty good. Move across to the right early. I don't know why I did that, but it seemed to open the line up through here. And again, a little bit of short shifting and I'm away. Short shifting, by the way, the idea is if you're in a lower gear, you get a bit more wheel spin. You don't necessarily put the power down, whereas if you short shift, you might lose a little bit of acceleration, but you do get better grip, better traction, and from that, kind of better acceleration in that sense of the word. Narrowly missed out on Q3. 11th place. I think it's like, was it 3/100ths of a second? I think I was off Q3. Just lost out to Alonso. I was genuinely gutted, actually.
Race from our perspective. Let's have yours.
Here's Claire.
Are you happy with where you'll be on the grid tomorrow? How do you feel this season is going for you? Is the car competitive? Appreciate your time.
All right, here comes the pre-race build-up.
Welcome along then to France, host of the world-famous Tour de France. But we're not talking 2 wheels today, we're talking 4, in a country widely thought of as giving birth to the art of motor racing back in the late 1800s. We've come a long way since then, and you're about to find out how far. It's time for the French Grand Prix. The Circuit Paul Ricard then, a 3.6 mile track, 25 miles east of Marseille. 15 corners here, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, with the main overtaking chance expected going into turn 8. Top speeds today should be around 205 miles per hour. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Perez, Norris, Charles Leclerc and Bottas, Sainz, Ricciardo, Gasly and Fernando Alonso, the engineer, Tsunoda, Sebastian Vettel and Ocon, Stroll, Russell, Antonio Giovinazzi and Kimi Raikkonen, Latifi, Mazepin, Delatraz and Mick Schumacher. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
And here's the start of the race then. So with this one, I've turned off formation laps now. I don't really want to deal with that anymore. It's kind of a manual start. I don't use clutch though. I just go for it with the gears. And I just wanted to make an impact here. And not quite the impact that I made there. That wasn't quite what I had in mind. Not my best start, for sure. And then I give a little punt there as well. And I think at this point, yeah, pretty much everyone overtakes me. So I have another go at it. You see, again, I almost hit, I think it's Tsunoda. Almost hit Tsunoda. Did have a collision there with Bottas, but I got the place. And that's what I was happy with. In fact, I got 2 places. I was in 9th place by the time we reached, is this turn 3 here? Bottas, he's a fighter. I'll give him that. He is a fighter. And he tries to come back at me. One thing I find with the AI, though, is if they're being a bit bullish towards you, you feel free to be a bit bullish towards them, so long as you don't get a penalty for it, obviously. If they're, like, punting you up the backside, then you can probably get away with just blocking them off. Got a collision warning there with Ricciardo as well, which I think was a little harsh. I also got exceeding track limits. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I got a few exceeding track limits warnings, most of which I didn't feel were justified. Also, just out braking there, the king of late braking. Nice, nice, nice. I love it when I do that. Pull off a maneuver like that. That's a pretty fair maneuver in my opinion. Jeff seems to agree. But yeah, I do exceed track limits a few times, and I think there are a few where I don't think it was particularly fair. Like, there's another one. I don't feel like I went off track there, really. So I was a little bit miffed about that. I got some game lag during this as well. You see Ricciardo manages to send one up the inside there because I basically, whenever it comes to certain braking zones, I put my foot on the brake and then the game just freezes on a particular frame. And then I've just got to hope for the best, basically, that I've come around the corner.
Means you've lost one of the gears. Say again, you have lost access to one of the gears.
That was interesting there from Jeff. We had a gearbox issue. Now, I think this was just general wear on the gearbox anyway. Wasn't anything particular that I was doing during the race, because I know I was talking about not changing up to 8.
Think of, but they're not optimistic. Just keep at it. Do your best. That's all we can ask.
So I very briefly lost 4th gear during the race. In fact, at one point, I think I did get it back, but then I had to use flashback and then lost it again. This was also not great. The rain started coming down. Now, we all watched the Russian Grand Prix this year. We know what happened to Lando Norris. I was terrified of that happening to me. But the rain coming when it did, that was not a good maneuver on Ocon, by the way. That's entirely on me. The rain coming when it did was actually perfect because I was going for a long run anyway, a long stint on the tyres at the beginning. So when everyone else came into pit, I thought, okay, I'll make up the time. That's fine. And try and get the overcut. And then it started raining. So drivers like, I think, Verstappen and Hamilton and, you know, the top drivers, Perez, I think as well, maybe even Bottas, had all come in to change their tyres. And then the rain started. So I only had to pit once during this race for inters. Everyone else pitted twice, pretty much. There were some exceptions. I think Delatraz might have only pitted once as well. That wasn't very good. I think I lost a place there because of that as well. Where are we right now? 14, 20, yeah. Falling back to 6th through a Verstappen overtake. And then when we rejoin me here, I'm down in 7th, nearly smashed into the back of Giovinazzi. Luckily, the pit limiter took over. The pit here, by the way, at Paul Ricard is an absolute pain. Not a fan of that. And then I think Delatraz came in after me, but I believe I didn't have a front wing replacement here. I'm pretty sure I didn't. So because of that, we ended up actually in pretty good track placement for the double stack.
Exit now. You'll be racing as you leave the pits.
Yeah, I think just as I leave there, Delatraz comes in for his. And it worked really well. Yeah, as I said, the pit stop actually came at the perfect time for me. So I come out in 8th place. Dropped to 9th there with Sainz. Nearly smashed into the back of Sainz there where auto pit, or whatever it's called, turned off. Pit assist, that's what I was looking for. When that turned off. Slightly off track there as well. Didn't want to fight the car too much with minor corrections in situations like that, because that is where you will lose the back end. Hamilton here trying to get back up the field. Again, I think he pitted twice. That's why he dropped down so far. Hamilton's really not my fight. My fight is actually with Lando behind, because I'm trying to score points in this race. Very quickly, actually, going back to the tyre strategy. So I said last week about how I got screwed. The team put softs on when I expected them to put on inters because of the rain. This is the opposite of that. I was expecting to pit twice because of the rain. I knew it was going to rain towards the end of the race, but I didn't know quite how far through. As it turns out, it rained about halfway through the race. And because of that, I was able to switch tyres, and everyone else had to make 2 stops whilst I only needed 1. This is me fighting furiously then with Lando. The yellow flags as well, by the way. Oh, I nearly choked on air there. The yellow flags when Hamilton went past me. I don't actually know what that was for. I don't know whether someone had an off or what. It was nothing to do with me, thankfully. It was just something up ahead. Not really sure what. There's me outbraking Lando. There's Lando then outbraking me because I got a little too cautious. I do keep him behind. I gave him a little love tap there. I mean, who doesn't love Lando after all? Managed to keep my place. The rain just got heavier and heavier and heavier as it went on, though. I genuinely at one point thought I'd have to come in for full wets. You know, the old radio message, it's full wet, lads. But thankfully didn't need to. And in fact, I actually got a place here on Stroll. I got really, really good grip out of that last corner and managed to get past Lance. Unfortunately, though, I have got the double stack behind me of Lance and Lando. And at this point here, 8th place. Lance is right behind me. Lando's right behind him. Lance then hits me, which kind of pushes me offline. Thankfully, though, managed to keep my composure here. Oh, God, I think that was the game freezing on me there. Had a little flashback moment there as well, because I was so busy looking in my rear view, I forgot to look ahead. And I think I just completely missed the corner. Lando sadly does get past me here. Not much, honestly, I could do about that. But managed to keep Lance behind. And we score our first points of the season. It only took me 6 races, which is not so bad, to be honest. And considering what happened during this race, really happy with qualifying. To be in Q2, always going to be happy with that at this stage of the series. But to actually go through a mixed weather race and come out with points, you've got to be happy with that.
A thoroughly well-deserved win. And talk to me. What do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
It's a heroic effort for any drivers to race in conditions like these, and seeing them fight their way to the front was very special indeed. They were able to find all the grip, all the good lines, and have the confidence to get on the power to top it all off. That's what pushed them into first place here today.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves. And now let's take a look at the drivers' standings. Max Verstappen now leads the Drivers' Championship. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Let's give it to Esteban Ocon. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Red Bull take over as championship leaders. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
What a podium, by the way. Perez on first. You can take that or leave it. But Vettel in second and Yuki Tsunoda in third. Who saw that coming? I know I didn't, for sure. But yeah, let's watch back the highlights here, and I'll talk you through kind of how I feel about this race. This start here, the one that stuck, really happy about that. You see me going around. In fact, you see Louis there in the background going around the outside as well. I guess he saw me and decided to do the same. That punt with Bottas, yeah, not my finest moment. I didn't want to cut the first corner. I'm not Verstappen at the end of the day. I wanted to actually go around the first corner properly. And yeah, had some tussles here with Bottas on lap 1. One thing I was really happy with during this race, at least while it was dry, was the fact that I was able to give Ricciardo a battle. I was able to give Lando a battle. And even towards the end when it was wet, I was able to give Stroll a battle. I actually overtook Stroll. That wasn't like he made a mistake and I capitalised on it. It was a legitimate overtake. Got the pace and went past him. That was definitely a corner cut there. Jesus. Okay, I can see why I got warned for that one. It's the ones further on where I thought, come on now, that wasn't a corner cut. And yeah, that's when I lost the fight to Ricciardo, I believe. But yeah, what a race. It was such a good race. To score a point in one like this with the changing conditions as well. I did struggle on my final lap before coming in and pitting. We'll ignore the fact I just went straight through the polystyrene sign there as well. Really struggled on the final lap, but I knew if I just held on a little bit more until Jeff told me to come in and change tyres, then I would gain the advantages from it. And sure enough, I wouldn't have finished in top 10 if I'd come in and pitted when I was told to the first time around. I had to stay out. I had to wait for DRS to be deactivated. That's when I knew it was wet enough to come in and change to Inters. And I'm so glad I held on. And to get the overtake on Stroll towards the end, you see Hamilton got past Stroll and then I got past Stroll as well. That's when I knew that points were on. There were still some mistakes. Thankfully, Tom's cut out a fair few of my little spins that led to a couple of flashbacks. I am going to try and avoid using flashbacks as much as possible, by the way. There's only ones where I genuinely felt wronged. So I lifted and coasted on some of these corners. Stayed within the white line and it came up with a track limits penalty. Which, I think that's really harsh, by the way. Really harsh. So those got flashbacks. And there were times as well where I felt like I was driving in the dry, but I was actually driving in the wet. And those ones I did use a little bit of flashback as well. Otherwise, I mean, look at that. I'm getting double teamed there and I'm still managing to hold them off. That's incredible. Otherwise, really happy with the performance in the race. We've got Austria next. Now, I've heard some things about Austria to do with the AI, so I am going to watch out for those. But yeah, until then, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you've enjoyed the video and, of course, you're enjoying the series. Drop some comments down below on how to improve the team, the drivers, all that good stuff. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. And until next time, I will see you soon.